It's about that time of day again here, boys and girls. Welcome back to your nightly newsletter. My name is Joseph James with your nightly newsletter for September 11th, 2014, the 11th day of the 9th month of the year 2014. And whoa, did we have an incredible trading session here today. I don't know whether it was the trading gods remembering 9/11 here or what was going on today, but today was some of the best price action we've seen all year. I kept talking to our students in the trade room saying, somebody pinch me right now, because everything working phenomenally well. Gold tumbles, crude tumbles, and how about that Rusty? Boy, picking up the pace and taking back control. Boy, I could go on here for hours tonight about the exciting stuff that went on today, but before we get started with this evening's newsletter, I want to remind you guys here, if you're not watching this video on our blog right now, get on over here to Sideways Markets. On our trading blog, sidewaysmarkets.com. If you're not watching the video on our blog right now, if you're watching on the YouTube page, don't forget there's a link right below that video to get over here to Sideways Markets for three specific reasons, right? The first reason tonight, I've got all of the charts that I use here every night. I've got those available for download for you. Right? So why do I do that? Well, I do that for my students. So every single one of my members here at School of Trade can have these charts ready to go tomorrow morning in the trade room. This is going to be our roadmap for tomorrow. If you're not a student, well, I question why you're not a student yet, right? But if you're not a student here at School of Trade, you can use those, of course, in your own trading tomorrow, right? So consider that to be a little freebie here from School of Trade. So download the charts as well as all the bonus charts right below the video here this evening. Second thing, upper left-hand corner, you'll see a free pass in the upper left-hand corner. I would love to invite you guys and gals to come out and join me tomorrow in my live trade room in the afternoon. We do these every day in the afternoon. Give us a call in the office if you need more information, or just jump in there and grab a copy of your free pass, upper left-hand corner, and I'll welcome you to come join our trade room. And you can see with your own two eyes how we do all this stuff with these newsletter charts. Third thing here today, last but not least, right above my ugly mug, lower left-hand corner, the spot for your name and your email address for our nightly newsletter email list. Now, whether you join the email list or you register for your free pass, just make sure you check your email. I'm going to send you a verification email to make sure you are not a robot. All right? Three important things on our blog tonight. Download the charts below the video, grab a copy of your free pass, and register for our nightly newsletter mailing list. That way you never have to wait again. You'll always get an email from me when we send out that newsletter. All right? You ready to rock and roll? What happened today? Well, of course, today, September 11th, 2014. Today we remember the 2,977 people who lost their lives 13 years ago today on September 11th, 2011. That includes 4 airplanes, 2 of the Twin Towers, and the Pentagon. And of course, a very emotional day in the markets. A difficult day to focus, right? If you were talking to family and friends, right? God forbid you turn the television set on today, you were bombarded by this stuff, right? Obviously, the term "we will never forget" resonates very strongly in this office. And I know this does not just go for Americans. This goes for millions and millions of people around the world that were also negatively affected by this. I know that many people were heartbroken, right, when this happened, whether they were an American citizen or not. So definitely want to take a moment of silence today to remember those 2,977 people who lost their lives. Now, back to business here today. I don't know whether it was the trading gods looking down on us this evening or this morning, but boy, did we have an incredible trading session today. We nailed the gold, right? Gold keeps dumping. We nailed that gold. It was awesome today. Got 2 great shorts on the gold this morning in our trade room. Nailed it. Crude oil tumbles overnight, right? Talking about what happened today. Crude tumbles overnight, just like we expected last night. Reacting off that Chinese news. We talked about this last night, and we nailed it today on crude. Very interesting, though, at the end of the session today, we saw, or should I say at the beginning of the U.S. session, at the end of the London session, bargain hunters came in and bought that thing all the way back to 93. So it was a roller coaster ride on Crude. But one thing we saw today on Crude, though, was that it put us right back in position where we can now get right back to selling again tomorrow on Crude. You got to love this action, guys. If this doesn't get you excited, boy, I don't know what else to tell you. You're in the wrong business. Mini Russell. How about this Russell, right? We're sitting here today, and I came in this morning about 9 o'clock, right? Well, actually about 7 o'clock, but you get the point. So I'm at my desk. I see the Russell down on the session. I'm going, oh, man, where'd these buyers go, right? And then go. This thing just takes off, and exactly what we had talked about yesterday. So the mini Russell, buyers held on for dear life. They fend off the sellers for another session. And we get some great opportunities for us tomorrow on the Russell. Boy, this is setting up to be nice finish of the week and going into next week for the E-mini Russell. What happened overnight? Another poor number out of China. Remember we talked about last night, we had the producer price index last night at 9:30 Eastern time. That's at 4-month lows, which definitely explains, right, the drop in crude prices. And it also explains the sluggishness of the S&P, right, and the Dow today, having really the Russell was the only one that jumped up tonight. Tomorrow we get some major news on the schedule for tomorrow. Get some retail sales, and surprise, surprise, tomorrow is sanction day around the world. Fresh economic sanctions, political sanctions, business sanctions, tons of new sanctions being levied against Russia. Doesn't sound like they care. Pretty much everybody's levying sanctions against Russia except China. Aren't we surprised about that, right? So today, very, very, very good day. We watched as the E-mini Russell. We thought it was going to roll over today. We got rollover tomorrow on the Russell, and then we'll talk more about that as we go. But boy, gold tumbles, crude tumbles, but then crude rebounded right towards the middle of the morning, and of course the Russell here pushing higher. So you can see as we jump into the E-mini Russell this morning, or this evening I should say, right, we go up, we pull back, right? We talked about testing this first leg down at 56.6, and then go, Rusty, go, as we try to make a run for that 1187.7. Now, on that Russell, we talked about this last week. We talked about it this week. It's been on our minds for the last 2 weeks. We saw this move lower, and a lot of folks were thinking this is going to be that collapse. This is going to be that 10% correction, right? This should never be going this high, blah, 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 blah. But we did it exactly by the book. I'll tell you guys, it really feels great, especially for all the new students out there in our trade room. Give yourself a pat on the back for this Russell. You traded this Russell like a professional over the past few weeks. We followed the trend, and then when things got shaky over the past few days, we didn't let the news media, we didn't let the fear, we didn't let our emotions trade for us. We found the support level, and we watched what we call the trend life cycle, right? If you haven't been with me for the past week or so, you haven't watched this stuff. But if you've been with me over the past few weeks, you've watched as we've analyzed this, and we nailed it. So good job, everybody. Give yourself a pat on the back. And again, it feels great to be able to analyze this like a professional, doesn't it? You weren't guessing. We knew exactly what was happening. We planned accordingly, and we are about to be rewarded by that as we head back higher here. I'm so proud. I had a lot of students that really made a lot of money on the way up. They were wondering what was going to go on, was it pulled back, and really a great job, really a great job. I feel like the last few days have been a great example of how a new trader with the proper technical knowledge, the proper technical skills, can see this coming and adapt, wait patiently, and now we're ready to go back to buying again, possibly for tomorrow. So take a look here. You can see we pulled back, of course, 1156.5, right? We held this low. This is exactly the line in the sand right here. This was the line in the sand, and we knew if those buyers couldn't hold, those sellers were probably going to take this thing back lower. So we stayed patient. We watched through it. And of course, here is the move now. So my 32 anchor, here's our updated anchor chart here right now. Now remember, here was the big trend, right? There was that big trend. We talked about how we went sideways earlier this week. We made that low, but that low All that meant was we needed to see the continuation. And if you remember from yesterday, we talked about how this was setting up to be a wonderful buying opportunity. All right. I'm not going to brag about calling this thing a mile ahead of time. I'll let my results speak for themselves. But if you've been following my newsletter for the past week, I don't need to tell you this. You've watched this every step of the way with me, and you know how much we nailed this Russell. So very, very good analysis and great patience. Now we're almost out of the woods here. Here we go. I talked about this last night. We got the potential range high here, 1174.6. There's my range low. This is the range we need to get out of, right? We talked about this yesterday. Our job yesterday was to fend off those sellers, and we did, right? I'm obviously rooting for the buyers here right now. You know, a little patriotic, bullish, tone to it here today for 9/11. But, in all reality, I don't care where it goes, but we just hadn't seen the sellers take control. So I'm waiting here, right? We saw it go lower. We saw it come off. We wondered, okay, now is when they got to make it. They got to make it work now, right? This was literally D-Day here for the sellers. They had to make the move. They didn't get the job done. Now, the one thing we didn't get today is that higher high, right? So that's why I'm not screaming buy right now. I've got to wait patiently. We're almost there. Right now, we are actually in a technical sell on the Russell right now. All right? I know. Didn't you just say the buyers? Well, they're almost there. Right? Remember, 2 days ago, it was where do we go next? Yesterday, right? 2 days ago, it was where do we go next? Yesterday, it was the leg down, the move back up, and we're wondering which way, right? Who's going to win this battle? The buyers kept the sellers at bay. Now, where do we go from here? Let's play that game called what if price goes higher? What if price goes lower? What if price goes sideways? First, if price goes higher, I'm looking for buys, but I'm only going to be buying above that 1174.6, right? Do not get caught buying back below that range. Okay, so members, use this as your reversal line, right? 1174.6, get above it, and then stay above it. That's the key. All right, do not be that sucker that gets trapped in by trying to buy back below that range high, right? Don't buy back below 74.6, right? You might as well just give me the money instead of just throwing the money out the window. So what I'm looking for right now is if it goes higher, I need to stay above this, right? Stay above that 74.6. Then I've got targets above 80.4, 83.9, 87.9, and then I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but there's going to be that trend line up here, right? This is that old trend line. That's the reason why I left it on there, right? So that old trend line will also be a target if for some reason we get 300 ticks tomorrow, right, out of the Russell, which is definitely possible because this thing's been sleeping all week. It's definitely going to be pent up here with a bunch of energy, you can assume. What if price goes sideways? If price goes sideways here, we're going to look to sell this thing off these highs, right? If it goes sideways, we're going to look to sell this thing off the highs, and the target will be that 57.6, and then you got 53 even. If price goes lower, same thing, right? We're going to sell here down to 57.6. Now remember, we will technically be going against the trend, so that means trailing stop, tight targets, and again, targets at 57.6, 53 even, 46.6, and 45.5, 35.5, obviously, if we do go that low. I don't think that's going to be the case tomorrow, but obviously, we want to be ready for it. So, price goes higher, we're buying. Price goes lower, we're selling. Pretty easy from here. But just be aware, if we chop around this area here, just be careful, because this is ground zero. That was a bad term for today. That is the line in the sand. All right, 1174.6. My gut tells me we go higher, but my gut is not a trading strategy. So stay patient, and don't forget, I'm going to be here with you guys tomorrow morning to give you those updates. Now, if you're already a buyer right now, all right, on the last chart, you can see here we're still talking neutral. It's not a sideways range yet. It's a potential sideways range. On the 32, we're definitely neutral. And the reason why we're neutral is because we haven't made a higher high yet. Once we make that higher high, then all of a sudden we're a lot bullish. We're a lot more bullisher, if you will, right? How's your Ingrace? We're a lot bullisher if we get above that 74.6. We didn't get there today, right? So that's why I said we're not quite there yet. But if you're a bull on the Russell right now, and I can't say I don't blame you, right? But the teacher in me wants to be fair and balanced right now, buyers and sell side here. But if you're a bull, I can see why. What do we have here? I got green clouds. What's my trend? You know how we do it, right? 3 steps to success. What's my trend? Trend is up. How do I know? 2 green clouds above the key moving averages. Check, check, check. Got that. Where's my setup? Right? 3 steps to success. Trend is up. Where's my buy setup? I got a couple of them here, don't we? 69.1, 65.8, 63.3, and last but not least, 60.2. I've also found that trend line. That will also be a buy as well for a channel setup. So we got trigger zone, trigger zone. Keep in mind, guys, there is symmetry inside here as well. If you're a member of mine, you know how to calculate symmetry on your own. So do the math on your own, and then or just come in and see me tomorrow, and I'd be glad to help you out with that. But it's all mixed in the same area there. So all we need is a pullback here on the Russell, right? If you're a buyer right now, you're looking to be a buyer at that 69.1, 65.8, 63.3, the low of that channel, and 60.2. And I've got 4 targets above me here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 83.5, 81.0, 79.2, and 75.8. Don't forget, download all of these charts below the video tonight, and that way you've got all these ready for you for tomorrow. So again, I'm going to have to say we're still neutral on the Russell, but I'd be lying to you if I said my gut didn't say we were going higher here into tomorrow's session. It may not be, though, until after we get a pullback. All right, so be patient on the Rusty tomorrow. Now, going from the Rusty here to that funny yellow metal they call gold futures. Boy, have we made a killing on this market over the past few months. One thing we love about gold, it takes the stairs up and the freight train down. When people get out of gold, they get out of gold. This has been a great market for us the past few weeks. Again, I won't brag about it. If you watched our stuff, you know exactly what's happened. You've seen it with your own 2 eyes and ears. All the way down here to that 1238. We've been talking about this as a target here for months. I mean, literally, this target has been there since March. 1238 even. Next leg down is going to be testing this trend line. Guys, heads up, I did adjust this trend line. Okay, I did adjust it lower. It was drawn from this area here. Now we've adjusted it lower to provide us with additional levels of support for profit taking. So once again, pushing lower here on gold. This was fun today. Trading gold was just a ball today. What a great time. It was almost like trading a video game today. That one of those great video games where you make real money every time you win, right? So we got the gold here. What's my trend? Trend is down. How do I know? I can see I've got red clouds, lower lows, lower highs, and below all the key moving averages. We're doing a downtrend right now. We hit one target here, right? We got that nice, easy target here right about 1240, and we just barely missed that target down at 1232. Got another one down here at 1214.1. Now you'll notice we cruised right through the low of that channel, so we are going to be due here for a little bit of support. I want to look for selling opportunities now. New lower lows. Bearish trend tells me to look for a sell setup. I got setups at 60.1 for a reversal line setup, 66.5 for your trigger zone. Top of that channel for a channel setup, and 84.3 for our last call trigger zone setup as well. So 1, 2, 3, 4 different opportunities here to be a seller. This is a 64 anchor, so this is a pretty slow time frame. If you don't want to wait that long for the 60.1, can't say I don't blame you. We didn't want to do that either today either. Here we go on my 32. On my 32, now of course, there is that 60.1 right there, right? So of course, that's where that 64 sell zone was. You can see new target here, 1323. Very easy to see my trend is down, lower lows in price. Below all the key moving averages, red clouds. We are looking dandy here on the gold. How about some sell setups? I've got a trend line coming down the middle here. Keep an eye on that trend line. That's probably going to be our best option for the next sell here on gold. So trend line sell. I've got trigger zone sell, 55.1. I've got reversal line sell, 58 even. Symmetry sell, 60 even, 63.3. Trigger zone sell. And then, of course, this move becomes invalid above 1279.2, right? So that's where the move becomes invalid. So we would love to get selling up top here on gold. It's been very, very aggressive, and we've been quite fortunate to have pretty much every setup's worked pretty well for us here this week. So it's been a very, very profitable week here for all those gold traders out there. Now, maybe you want to get to selling right now. You want to wait? That's all right. Here's my 16. This is my scalper anchor chart, as you can see here. A lot faster time frame here. Once again, what's my trend? Trend is down. How can I tell? Lower lows, lower highs, red clouds, below the key moving averages. Very easy here to see the trend right now. With a downtrend, I need some sell setups. Where's my next setup? Well, I've got the green light right now. Just like last night, we talked about this last night as well. Green light right now. All we need is the sell pattern, right? 3 steps, right? Find the trend. Trend is down. Second step, find the setup. Setup's at 41.9. What's the third step? Find the entry pattern. Where do I get the entry pattern? You log into your course materials at SchoolOfTrade.com. You watch the chapter on entry patterns, and you come out and join me tomorrow morning in my trade room where you and I together are going to find those patterns together. I'm going to teach them to you, then I'm going to trade them with you in real time in our trade room, right? It's the best way to learn. You're not going to learn this in a book. You're not going to learn this by watching a video. You're going to learn this by doing it with me tomorrow, all right? And there's no reason why anyone with these great trade room webinars these days, there's no reason why anyone has to be doing this on their own. Think of it this way. In the last 2 weeks, there's been over $50,000 in profit in this newsletter alone. Easy. And that's a small account, right? I mean, we're talking easily over 50 grand in profit over the last 2 weeks. What are you waiting for? What are we waiting for? All right? Give me a call in the office. We'll talk about what's going on in your career and how we can help. Now, as we see, lower lows, lower highs, bearish trend. I've got my setups, 41.9. I've also got this trend line coming in overhead, so keep an eye on that trend line overhead. Very, very easy there. 41.9, trend line high, 45.7, 49.7, and then this little bad boy up here, this is going to be a great sell. If we happen, it's possible, we haven't seen a real correction on this yet. So it is definitely possible to get a jump up here just to give us the next leg down, and that would make me very, very happy because, remember we always say, right, I want to get into a trade short the closest I can to where that trade becomes invalid. Where will that trend become invalid? Up here, right? So around the 1260 area, that's where this short-term trend becomes invalid. And remember, that 1260, that's the level off the 32, right? So you can see all of this selling opportunity here before we even get up to that 32 level at 1260, okay? So again, we got sell zones overhead, plenty of opportunities here right in front of your nose for more selling opportunities. And then, of course, we'll take our profit off the low of this channel. You definitely want to make sure you download the bonus chart on this because the bonus chart on this shows you where I got the big channel from, right? You got target, the lows of the channel. We got targets at 27.7, 24.7, 22 even. So follow that chart for profits tomorrow. All right, looking good. Moving here from that funny yellow metal over here to the black gold, the Texas tea, the crude oil futures. Another very fun market the past 2 weeks. Boy, I'll tell you, made enough money on crude over the past month or so to take care of the entire year of our P&L. It's been a very, very good year on crude, at least in our trader room it has. Now, of course, as we're going lower here, you can see here on crude, we dipped our toe in the water all the way down to test that trend line at that low. We've been talking about this for a while now, right, down to the lows of that channel, right? We had that target down there, which you'll see in the next chart. You can see, though, we're sitting right on top of some significant support. We've got the low of that channel, so we've had a pretty good run here to the downside. Let's put it this way, I will not be surprised if we see some profit taking and if we see some significant support coming in here around 92. Wouldn't be surprised. Now, we get an important retail sales report tomorrow. We get some important news coming out, sanctions against Russia. Next week is quad witching. Anything can happen. Anything can happen. We will keep following that trend right now, though. But what a great session today on the crude. Now, over to my 64 anchor. You can see once again, I'm not making this stuff up, guys. I'm not making this stuff up. 90.58 has been on this chart since, I want to say July, right? Middle of August. I mean, it's literally this 90.58 has been our target here for quite some time. So this definitely did not sneak up on us. If you're a member of mine, you know exactly how I'm finding these levels. Don't forget to come out and join me tomorrow in my trade room if you need any further clarification. So target at 90.58 tested. That, of course, results in some profit taking here, some bargain hunters, and the bounce. I see this as being an excellent opportunity now to get right back in short. So this big jump here, middle of the morning, the U.S. this morning, to me, that's nothing more than putting me right back into the spot where I want to get short here again tomorrow, right? What a great bounce. Without that bounce this morning, and again, it happened about 9 o'clock, 9:30, we watched that big move out of China, right? It was basically the Asian session started the move. The London traders took it lower. By the time the U.S. traders got it this morning, just after 9 o'clock, right, we saw profit taking, and then, of course, we hit that target at 90.58, and the bargain hunters came in and bought it right back up. It was easy to see why. Now, we spent the entire session today, pretty much in the U.S. session, rising higher. Do not freak out, right? This is not the end of the bear run, although you may have thought it was. You look at this 32 anchor, and you can see, boy, oh boy, we are in a perfect area to be looking for a short. So green light right now, 32 anchor. What's my trend? My trend is down. How do I know? Lower lows, lower highs, red clouds. Where's my setup? That's the second clue, right? Where's my setup? We got it right here, baby. 93.50, 93. Now this zone is from 93.22, 93.87, 93.50 symmetry, 93.87 overhead. And then again, you can see we got these, and you got to look closely here. There's a channel here, right? That's a channel. So you got to kind of look closely here. But there's some trend lines here. There are some channels here. Now, again, this is a good example of a chart. You want to download all those bonus charts because I put the big 32 anchor on there for you so you can see where that channel came from, and you'll see what I'm talking about, where all these trend lines come from. So bottom line, guys, I have absolutely no problem with that jump up because I can't wait to sell it here back to 91.07. So downtrend. Where are my sell setups? I'm looking for sells at 93.50, looking for sells at 93.87, looking for sells at 94.16, reversal line. And then look at this, all the way back to the top of that bear channel, delish. I mean, just a tasty. My mouth is watering just thinking about getting my hands on a short from 95.37, 94.81. All right. Why I say that is because in the big picture, that's the top of that big bear channel. And remember, we would love to get short as close to as possible where that trend becomes invalid, which would be above here. So if I can sell it short here, if it fails, I don't lose that much profit, right? But if it's a winner, holy Christmas, it's going to be a monster for you, all right? So very nice risk to reward on that particular trade setup at 94.81. Bottom line, guys, green light here to get short on crude right now. And then targets down below me, 91.07, 90.44, 89.76, 88.62. And again, don't forget, we get a couple channels down here. So depending on when you get there, make sure you use the low of that channel as a target as well. Last chart here for the crude. Not a lot of different stuff on this chart, but you can see, though, that channel break. This is the same channel we drew last night. Actually, a little bit different. We had it going like this last night, expand a little bit lower here this evening. You can see that we bounced right off that 93.36. That level's been there since yesterday morning. We talked about it last night in our newsletter. That should not be catching you off guard right now. One thing, though, that I will tell you, though, is this trend line. This trend line is definitely something that I'd be looking for a break and then possibly a move back to the trend line before we go lower, right? Remember, trend lines make for excellent reversal points, right, if you use them properly. So the trend line gets broken. It's kind of like how you trade a head and shoulders pattern, right? That makes for an excellent reversal, right? It's kind of like how you trade a head and shoulders, where a head and shoulders pattern, for example, right, you go looking at maybe a bearish head and shoulders like this, right? You're not going to sell that break. You're going to wait for it to retrace back to that trend line and then sell it there, right? That's the easy way to trade it. Okay, so same kind of thing on this crude trend line you see here. If anything else, though, I'm definitely going to be using this trend line, though, as my line in the sand. If we break this trend line, even if we trade sideways, break that trend line, the odds are still in our favor here to get that thing to go lower. Okay? Now remember, I want to get in short here as close to that line in the sand where this trade becomes invalid. So above 93.94, now we go back. Well, if we get above 93.94, then we go back to our 32 anchor and we look one time frame slower. All right? I don't want to overcomplicate this right now. Don't forget, come out and join me tomorrow morning in the trade room, and I'll be sure to walk you guys through all this in real time. All right, guys? So looking good here for tomorrow. Speaking of tomorrow, take a look at my news here for tomorrow. No major news happening here overnight. No major news coming out of Asia. We do have major news, though, tomorrow out of Europe. I've got Italian CPI at 5 o'clock. I've got the EU's industrial production at 5 o'clock. That's pretty darn important information, guys. Heads up on this. Remember, Italy just went into a technical recession a few months ago, and they're going to be giving us their CPI tomorrow. Consumer prices. This is the most dangerous number for Mr. Mario Draghi right now, the ECB. Think about it. What's the big concern in Europe right now? The big concern is deflation. Lower prices make it difficult for businesses to make money. It drags down that economy significantly. Then you throw in the big problems they have with the banking system there, the fact that there's really big problems with it. It's bringing, and of course, they're printing more money. So this is going to be an important, very important set of news tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. Eastern time. Now, that plays right into a Friday morning ahead of a weekend, right, which we know is going to be early in, early out. So when you think of Fridays, I think get in early, make my money early, don't be greedy, take my money, hit the weekends around 11 a.m. Eastern time tomorrow. I repeat, 11 a.m. Eastern time tomorrow. Take that money, cut it, and run, right? Enjoy the weekend, spend some time with family and friends, rest up for a very big week next week. We do have important news out of the U.S. session tomorrow for retail sales. This is really important. Retail sales are one of the most important news events we get because remember, retail sales, right, how does it go? It goes consumer confidence, it goes jobs, retail sales, housing, and then consumer prices, right? So this is all going to roll together here. We've seen some iffy housing reports over the past few months. Retail sales, though, the last time we heard from retail sales a month ago, we had a very, very strong number. Now, we're coming off of a very weak jobs report last week. We had a plus 300,000 on jobless claims today. We know there's that variable right now, right? The Fed's looking for reasons to hike up rates. Retail sales tomorrow will be a very, very important news report. We're not going to trade the news, but we're watching the reaction. And I'll tell you right now, I can easily see if these numbers in Europe come out very poor tomorrow morning, that should send the euro lower, the dollar higher, that'll push gold lower, and that'll push crude lower. Be ready. Retail sales, if that comes out horrible, we could have crude going back to where it came from today, 90-50 area, and possibly hitting that big number of 90 tomorrow morning. I don't want to speculate, but these are 3 news reports that I could easily see coming in tomorrow and smacking these markets around a little bit. So I'm excited to trade them with you guys tomorrow. Now, we also have some relatively minor reports, 8:30, 9:55, and 10 a.m. But again, in my opinion, everybody's watching the retail sales and the news at 11 tomorrow morning. All right, so be aware you will have news all the way until 11 a.m. Till 10 a.m. And then after 11:30 a.m., you've really got to have a good reason to be trading tomorrow after 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. All right, so set your alarm clock, 11:30 a.m., cut it, take the money and run, enjoy the weekend, and we're back on Monday to get right back at it again. Now, real quick heads up. This is really, really important for tomorrow. Couple things here, guys. First, tomorrow is rollover on the Russell, rollover on the E-minis. Get the 1214 contract on the E-minis. There's a link below the video for a tutorial on how to do contract rollover. Also, next week is the quadruple witching, right? So next week is quadruple witching. There is also a tutorial for you guys below the video as well today. Okay, next week, quadruple witching. So be aware of that. The 3rd week of every 3 months, March, June, September, December. Next week is the 3rd week of the month of September. Now, unfortunately, I'm going to be on vacation next week. It's not actually a vacation, but I'm going to be here making some major updates to our websites, putting together some new materials. We're working on Forex to launch in 2015. So we got a lot of stuff we're working on right now in the office. I will be on vacation next week. Towards the end of the week, I'll be out of the office, but I'll be in the office for the majority of the week next week. So be aware, the next newsletter will be September 22nd, right? Monday, September 22nd, all right? So if you're wondering where the newsletter is next Monday, unfortunately, I know it. I know you think I am, but I'm not a robot, and every once in a while, I do need to take scheduled breaks. One of the things that we teach all of our students is that if we don't schedule our breaks, we end up getting burnt out. I don't care how much you love trading, right? Nobody likes being burnt out. So take some time, and I've kind of adopted quadruple witching as my trader's holiday or my scheduled breaks every 3 months. So I go all out for basically 85 days. I'll take a week off at quad witching, and then rest up, refocus, reflect, set some new goals. Right? We do a lot of goal setting here at School of Trade because it's important. If you don't have a goal, how do you expect to hit it? Right? If you shoot for the stars, maybe hit the moon. So we'll do some goal setting next week. We'll review our journals. And again, we'll rest up and refocus. We can come back the 2nd or the 4th week of September and be razor sharp once again. So always a little bit bittersweet for me. I love this job. I love doing this newsletter. I love working with our clients in our trade room. Now keep in mind, although I'll be on vacation next week, right, our live trade room will be open. And if you need more information about who's moderating that stuff, shoot me an email and I'll give you the skinny on what to expect for next week. If you're a student of mine, though, you already know the plan for next week, so no worries there. All right, guys? But our trade room will be open next week. We will be trading next week, although I will not be doing my newsletter because I'll be spending that time doing some much-needed updates and getting some new stuff working here at School of Trade. All right? So be aware, rollover tomorrow on the E-minis. Be aware, next week is quadruple witching, right? Be aware. And don't forget, guys, find that trend, find those setups, and find those entry patterns. Want to thank you so much for being a part of our trade room, or our newsletter, I should say, here today. As always, I'll direct you guys over to SchoolOfTrade.com. Grab a copy of your free trial. That free trial is always a great place to start on our website. We've got 3 levels of membership here at School of Trade, and we've always got someone standing by to help you guys out. My name is Joseph James. I hope you guys had a fantastic 9/11, And once again, my heart and prayers and my thoughts go out to anybody who was affected by that absolute tragedy 13 years ago. We will absolutely never forget, and I am so proud to be broadcasting live from our corporate headquarters here in the United States of America. Adios, amigos. We'll see you the 22nd of September. Have a great quad witching. Have a great Friday. And you guys follow those rules, and we'll see you in the room. Adios, amigos. Bye-bye for now.